Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to another author's interview on the Fantasy Nook blog. This one is a little bit different than what we normally do because we're doing a video interview. But as some of you may know, I have interviewed Joanna before on the blog when her book Hunter was spotlighted when it first came out. So I didn't want to repeat all of that same content. So we're going to do something a little bit different today, and I'm going to be asking her questions related to our new anthology release, Glimpses of Time and Magic. She and I worked on the compilation and release together, and as part of our attempt to kind of let you guys know more about it, we're doing author interviews. And Joanna is the first one on my list. So we're going to ask about 10 questions, hopefully, tonight. So yeah, let's get started. First off with it, how did you come up with the idea? Because I remember, if I remember correctly, you were the one who approached me about the idea of doing an anthology, not the other way around, and it kind of went from there.
Well, for the anthology as a whole, I was just thinking, okay, I like fantasy, I like historical fantasy. I never wrote, so why not try a new genre with this thing? Because as a short story, it wouldn't have to be some epic historical fantasy novel. It'd be kind of a great way to kind of dip my toes into the genre. As for my story in particular, called The Heart of the Phoenix King, I always do either Japanese in 1860 or Native Americans from 1870, but when those eras were kind of coming to a close, it's really dramatic. And I was like, okay, you need to do something different. And stop being repetitive and get to a new place. I love the early colonies as well, but I'd already done Jamestown in one of my other novels. So I was like, Roanoke is this huge mystery, and because nobody knows what actually happened, I could go fantasy with it, still be historically accurate because nobody knows what happened. That I felt like that gave me enough free reign to kind of do what I wanted. So that's where I, came up with the idea.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Makes sense. Second question. In terms of the anthology, this is the first time that either of us have ever done anything like this. Can you give us what you feel like the biggest benefit has been from this project so far?
Honestly, the hugest benefit of this anthology, and I'm assuming other anthologies as a whole for me, is how all the authors contribute to the marketing. Because like you as an author, like me, like I don't do a whole lot of marketing, don't know a whole lot about it. I'm still kind of learning as I go. And the other authors there are, know more about marketing. And so, I mean, as soon as we dropped the cover, I'm pretty sure we hit like number 10 and number 14 and number 4 in 3 different categories. And I can never do that. I spend years struggling just to like push it a little bit high, and I got in the top 100, by myself. And I just feel like there's so many different strategies and stuff that everybody kind of putting their heads together. One person has their ideas and somebody else does something different, and we put both of them together, and it's like 10 strategies for one book versus one strategy for a book. So
absolutely, definitely a big benefit of anthologies. I've noticed that with every single one of the ones I've been involved with. They've made bestsellers somewhere in the 1 to 10, number 10 like categories in one category or another, at least at the beginning of the release. So that's actually how I was able to hit bestseller status and be able to say I am a best-selling author on Amazon because of the first anthology I was with. So definitely beneficial. And then following up on that for the third question, what do you feel was like the biggest learning point or the biggest like challenge that you had to deal with the anthology?
On that same, actually kind of goes along with the same answer, because you have so many different strategies and ideas. Different authors do different things for their books. One person might, do something different than you, and you have like 9 or 10 different authors with 10 different ideas of how to do this. And you have to find some compromise that satisfies everybody. And for, the people who are just kind of going along with it, they just kind of like, they're part of the voting and the deciding. But like the people who are compiling it, like for me and you, we have to decide, okay, which option is best? How do we satisfy everybody? And you're not going to be able to satisfy everyone. It's just the sad part of like working with so many people. but it's definitely a challenge to figure out, okay, well, if this person wants this strategy and this person wants this strategy, and we have 3 other people with 3 different ideas, how do we go about doing that? So
Yep.
I think what helped with us was we had a lot of new authors, so there weren't as many experiences, so we didn't have as many to choose from, but we still had to find kind of a balance.
Right. Yep. Balance has definitely been, I would agree, that's been one of the harder points, is like navigating the interaction part of it. Not because we've had bad authors, because we don't. We have some pretty awesome people in the group, and they've all contributed. They know a lot, but like you said, when everybody has done it a different way and been successful, it's kind of like you have to juggle all these ideas, all these different personalities. And it's not a big deal if you're not the one compiling it, but if you're the one compiling and organizing and heading it up, you do have to figure out what can we use, what can't we, how do we gently tell people, no, if it is a real issue. So it's definitely a challenge. So that was number 3. Number 4. What was your favorite part of your short story in particular?
Probably the race building that I got to do. I didn't get to do as much of it because it was a short story, and I didn't put as much thought into it as I would have for like a full-length novel or a series. But definitely building the Phoenixes and why the Phoenix Kings, like just doing something completely different from anything I've ever done before, and feeling like because it's an anthology, I could have the freedom to do that. Because before, like with my novels, I probably wouldn't take so much of a chance, with some of that stuff. Like, it's hard to explain, but and definitely getting to include another race in there, the Atlanteans, and trying to just think about history, but in a more exciting way. Because fantasy is great, and I love it, and it's amazing. But you have to build your own world, which is fun. But like thinking about history, okay, like this story that we know is Roanoke, the idea of it being different than what you thought, and the idea of, okay, phoenixes or dragons actually being in our world, just getting to kind of look at history in a new light. For me, that was fun. So
that's definitely one of my favorite parts of fantasy too. The world building and race building is always a lot of fun, whether they're human or not human. But or I should say humanoid or not humanoid, because there's plenty of things not human that are not necessarily a lot of race building per se. But let's just put it this way: humanoid versus creature creation.
Definitely, way of putting it.
Definitely a fun part of fantasy.
It's easier to have fun with it when you're not on a time crunch to finish writing the novel, though.
Yeah, definitely. I like to do a lot of it, and so there's always something cooking in my brain, like for different like novel ideas, or if not that, then world building stuff. So I just try to write it all down, but it's when you're on a time crunch to finish the novel, it's not as much fun. But writing is work, so we can't really complain. So I think that was question 4?
4, I believe.
Yeah, okay. So question number 5. Excluding your story, what would you, like, you read all the stories in the anthology because you were proofreading them. Which one did you, I guess, find resonated with you the best? Like, if you had to pick a favorite. Not upset anyone, but just if you had to pick which one you liked the best, what was it?
Good question. And the interesting thing for me is that, like, the past several years, I haven't really been able to read. Like, if I read anything, it was for a friend as a review, and I had to force myself into it. I don't know what my problem is, but reading the anthology, I was worried about dreading it every day and having to edit it and everything, because it was more of like an editing job for me. But there was a couple of stories in there that I was like, you know what, this is fun, and it got me into reading again. And one of those was James's story, Excalibur. And I loved the idea. His ideas are like so creative, and it's like it feels real at the same time that it feels like a whole different world anytime that you read his stuff. And I really liked him. I also really loved Candy's story with the potato famine and stuff. That one, those two were ones that felt like it was not a job to edit for me. It was just I was reading a story and kind of critiquing as I went. And so that's what made it those two. I'd have to toss up between the two of those.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, I enjoyed all of the stories, but yeah, I enjoyed James's as well. His writing is definitely unique in the way he tends to like format and deal with things. So I know it's not every reader's cup of tea, but I think reading his short story for this versus, the United, he's come a long way. It's a big improvement. I like what he's done with it. He's just a really talented author, I feel.
I've also read The United, so for me it was also interesting to kind of see another side of his world and his story, but also fitting with history and stuff. It was kind of cool. So.
It was pretty cool. So question number 6 now. You also helped with the editing for, I think it was your story and Sarah's. Did you do anyone else's? I think it was just those two. For editing, at least.
Did the hardcore editing, me and Sarah's, but I did basically critiquing everybody's, and there was some hardcore edits in pretty much everybody's, but I did me and Sarah's for sure.
So. Okay, so I guess like number 6 would be when you were editing yours and Sarah's, what was the hardest part of the editing process for you with the stories? Like, what was the most difficult part? The part that
editing.
You were like, oh, I don't want to do this.
I like editing, and I have editing clients and stuff now too, so I don't mind editing. Editing my own stuff is not the funnest thing in the world for me. I don't know why. I can see stuff, edit everybody else's stuff, but it's like with my stuff, I'm just reading through it and I'm like, yeah, I don't see anything. And I know that there was mistakes there. I know that there are things I need to fix there, but it's just like my brain just doesn't work. And I don't know if that's just weird or what, but definitely trying to the pressure of editing for an anthology that you're publishing, because if I'm editing my own stuff and self-publishing it, I'm the only one that's going to be like, okay, I'm going to get this bad review.
Yeah.
I'm the one that it has to fall back on. But for the anthology, like, oh my gosh, if we get a bad review for bad editing, part of that's especially for one I edited, And so there was just, I guess this created a lot of pressure, and the pressure probably, in a serious note, would have been the hardest part, because it's like, okay, these stories are my responsibility to critique and get perfect. Yeah. And there's a lot of good authors in this, a lot of authors that do better than I do. And so if we do bad, part of it's going to reflect back on me for my editing, and the pressure of trying to make it perfect, I guess, was the hardest part for me.
No, I totally understand. I just like, for me with the editing, it was kind of similar, I think. I don't know. It wasn't that I didn't enjoy it, but by the time I was done with my 3 authors plus my own, I was just like, I don't want to read anything more from anybody. I don't want to touch this. I told James with Michaela's that I got to the point, like hers was the last one, and I got to the point on hers where I was like, I don't even know. I'm so lost. I don't even know what needs to be fixed anymore. Like, I've gotten to the point where I've read through it so many times and I've helped her with so many different changes that I'm just completely, it's like, it was like reading my own work, but worse. Not because she had a bad idea, but just because I'd been through it so many times and we talked about so many different things that I think some things needed to be said in a fresh way to click with her, and other things I just wasn't seeing because I was too close to the piece.
By the time you sent me Michaela's, I could tell that there needed to be more eyes on that one, so I paid a lot more to help a lot more. That one, I had the same experience when I was a writing competition host and judge. It's like eventually you get to like the 10th or the 14th or the 15th story, and I'm going, yep, I'm done. So the people who hand in late would always be the ones that would get those feelings from me.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's not really fair to them, but at the same time, like, I get it, because that's not, I wouldn't say that's necessarily how I feel 100% with most editing clients that I have and stuff. I really enjoy editing. I love it. Even with my own stuff, I really like getting in there, digging in, picking it apart, and making it better. But I do a lot of like editing papers and stuff for students because I'm an English teacher. At least this year I was doing it. So yeah, by the time I get to student number 13, because I have a 24-hour turnaround, so that's 13 students, and I'm grading 4 areas of English, like their vocab, grammar, lit, and writing. And so if for, writing or whatever, they have a paper, and then that week they also have a literature response. That's 2 papers per student that doubles up. And you have 24 hours to do everything from the time that it was due. So 13 people. By the time I get to number 13, I'm like, let me just click the done save button, please. I want to send it. I want to be done. I don't want to look at another paper. And then when they turn work in late, it's like, I hate you. I don't really, but like.
Not really, but
yeah, exactly. So I think we're on question 7 now. We're doing pretty good with questions so far, but now I have to stop and think like what to ask on this one.
You're keeping track.
Yeah. Let's see. Ooh, I know. Okay. For number 7, besides your own characters, because let's be fair, all of us love our own characters. Well, except maybe the villains, but some of us love them too. Regardless, who was your favorite character in all the different stories that you read? Like, pick your top. For number 7, pick your top male character. Number 8, pick your top female character.
I don't remember character names, so I'm just gonna have to like describe the story, I guess.
Yeah,
but
that's fine.
For female character, probably Persephone from James's story. And I know that I really liked your male character.
Okay.
I don't remember
Bram.
But Bram. Yeah, I really liked Bram. So he was definitely
fun to write. Yeah, he was a lot of fun to write. I had a ton of fun with that short story, and I'm hoping to do more at some point. No spoilers.
Yeah, more with mine, but I'm just not sure what yet. So
yeah,
there's so much building I could add to it and turn it into a bigger thing if I ever get around to it.
I already know what I want to do with mine, fortunately, because the idea for the short story kind of sprang out of my first series of novels. They suck, but the idea was a good one. And so the short story is actually like predates the series of novels. And then the series of novels I'm planning to put with the short story about Bram and Alantha would also be like prequel to that other set, and at some point maybe I will edit that other set of books and publish it. But right now that's not happening because they really, I cringe reading.
Yeah, tonight. So I'm tired of. I mean, when you read a book that you wrote when you were 10 and you thought it was like really good, yeah, it's not that great.
Well, this was 6 years ago, so no, 7 years ago now. Because I wrote it. Oh man. My brain is dead. I wrote it when I was like 15 or 16. So that's like 6 or 7 years ago. It's not, it's not the worst thing I wrote, but yeah.
About the age I was when I wrote Hunter. So yeah, the books that I was reading earlier was when I wrote when I was 10. So this was like 15 years ago, and I was just like 10-year-old. Cringy.
Yeah, absolutely understand that. Okay, so that was 7 and 8, favorite male and female character. 9. Let's see. We're getting there. I just need to think of 2 more things. Let's see. Okay, who was your least favorite character to write, like in your short story?
Probably, this is bad. I don't even remember my own characters' names. Main girl in mine, I think her name was like Susan or Susanna. Susanna. Wow, this is bad. And I edited it a while back, guys. Give me a break. And I've written like 9 other novels this year, so my head's elsewhere. Yeah, probably her because of the way that the story turned out. to keep the away. I just didn't really like writing her. She didn't feel like a very good ship for him, and in the first place, even if the spoilers hadn't happened, but the spoilers made it worse. But like, I didn't really even like her. Like, you deserve a better woman than this man, and I kept thinking that every time I would write their ship. I'm like, how am I supposed to write these romantic scenes between them if I don't even like her? Like, I've never actually had that experience too many times before, because usually I like both characters and I think they belong together, and here I'm just like, yeah, no, you deserve better, let's move on. But
I get
really
that. I felt that way before about like love triangles. So for When All Else Fails, the one that I did for ONC, you've got Dane and you have Sebastian both interested in the same girl, and it's really complicated. I won't like spoil anything obviously, but like the relationship between Dane and the girl that they're both interested in is pretty complicated, and I don't know. I had a hard time because I think my hard time came in that I really shipped the female character with Sebastian, but at the same time I knew where things were going with the series and how things would and wouldn't work out. And I also knew like the character arc and stuff for Dane, and I was like, I like both guys. This isn't fair. So it made it really hard to write. It was kind of a little bit of the opposite problem, but still made it hard to write sometimes, because it was like, I mean, at points I hate you. I don't want to deal with this.
In the Crystal Heist, that one, there wasn't really a hardcore, it was not really a love triangle per se, but there are two men, and one of them has a deeper past with her, and the other one's currently like the one that's been helping her and everything. And I really wanted to explore more about the guy from her deeper past, but like the storyline didn't allow for it, and she kept, I don't like this guy, he's part of my past, I don't trust him, I don't want anything to do with him, and she would never warm up to him again. And I'm just like, you stupid girl, like, I like him, but he didn't get as brought into the story as I wanted him to, because she was being stubborn. And so in the second book, if I write a second book, I'm hoping to bring that back and actually get more love triangle-ish with both of them. But so the readers are probably going to prefer the guy that's currently with her, but I like missed the other one, and he was just tossed aside like trash because nobody could. It's just,
yeah. I mean, it happens. Definitely happens. Sometimes characters just do not want to cooperate. Okay, for number 10, our last question. Let's go with your least favorite character for like the whole anthology besides Susanna, since you already said, you know, you didn't like writing her.
Yeah.
Least favorite and why?
Well, is our connection still okay?
I don't know. Mine is like a little, it's a little iffy.
Mine seems perfectly clear, but like yours is really, it like totally froze for half a second, but I think you're back now.
Thing is just saying no internet connection, but I don't believe it.
I don't believe it. I'm just not gonna listen to it. I'm trying to think. Honestly, I don't know. Can I vote for Susanna? Because honestly, like out of the whole anthology, I actually just think I didn't like her. Like the other ones were all, I mean, there were some characters and some people's stories that were okay. I didn't like them, but I didn't like them either, and I didn't have issues with them. But there's none that I really didn't like at all.
Okay.
As far as I'm aware, from what I remember. I think Allie's story, she had this one, there was one that had this bad, that she was supposed to marry. And I didn't like that one because he's a jerk. So actually, that was kind of meant to be. So
yeah, I think she meant for us to not like him, but man, that was one really creepy dude. Let's just be honest. Yes, I did not like that guy at all. So I can agree with that vote on least favorite character that isn't your own. All right, so that is 10 questions, which means that we have managed to come up with all the questions that I needed to ask for the interview, so we're going to close it out now. Thank you for being here, Joanna. As usual, it was a lot of fun. We're at 25 minutes. That's not too bad. Better than our last one. So, yeah. So thank you everyone for being here. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you're looking for more authors interviews or like reviews and book spotlights, you can find that over on the Fantasy Nook at arielpayment.com. If you've been with me for a while, you know where to find me. If not, you should be able to find me by just looking up the Fantasy Nook blog. I know my author's name is not always easy for people to spell, so it might be easier to look it up that way. Anyway, thank you all once again for being here, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your day or evening, depending on when you're watching this.